Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome on in. It's another edition of JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Friday to you, everybody. We're going to be that shticky sports talk radio show that's like, hey, fellas.
Yes, we are.
Hey, fellas. Trying to get lucky tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Like, we're not, come on, right? We're past that, aren't we?
We're totally going to do it.
I'm telling you, though, I am confused every day by the Valentine's holiday. I'm confused by it every day. Because on the one hand, I get roped into it. On the other hand, I get it makes me anxious. It makes me anxious.
So which holiday, maybe it's a good place to start the show. Which holiday gives you the most anxiety?
Christmas, just because of the heavy lifting, right? Just because of all the moving parts there. But the thing is that I married the most like chilled out lady who does not care about this stuff.
I'm fortunate too. My wife gets it.
And so
we don't create unrealistic
No.
expectations. We work together to make it an enjoyable experience.
And here's the thing, like for us, we have a lot of little kids, and so we do the thing where we're giving them candy and then we're hanging out. We had like a big Valentine's dinner last night.
It's
with
a little
everybody.
bit like the Easter basket thing, but it's for Valentine's.
Yes.
Yeah. No, we're on the same page.
By the way, Easter is the best holiday for candy. Don't at me, Halloween. Okay?
Oh,
Don't at me, Halloween.
The
amount of
little
garbage.
chocolate eggs. What are they?
The Cadbury mini eggs.
Yeah, the mini eggs.
Which, by the way, what do they do?
Oh my gosh!
They started doing the Cadbury mini eggs like in Halloween colors.
I think the sole reason why I had to do Salt Lake City fat loss was for the mini eggs.
My gosh!
The mini eggs ruin me.
No, it's
in a good way.
Okay,
I love those things.
Can I give you a fat guy hack? Every once in a while, I've got a fat guy food hack.
Please.
If you get like what's a suggested serving of mini Cadbury eggs? 74? Is that the
I
suggested
think two
serving?
of them have like 400 calories in them.
So get like the handful that you get, okay?
Yeah.
You get a microwave safe bowl and you put it in there for 11 seconds. Okay?
11?
Now, here's the thing. The shell is thick enough on the Cadbury mini egg. By the way, they're all available now because they've been for sale since Christmas because they're like, oh, Easter's coming up. Right?
They make a Christmas form of those,
right.
by the way.
So I know they do. And so everything.
And they're just as good.
The shell on them are super thick. And when you get into that, okay?
A little melty in the middle?
You're welcome. You're welcome, America. Fat guy food hack right at the top of the show.
11 seconds? Is this science?
Yeah. No, it's like, I think there's like a donut place that, remember Krispy Kreme used to be like, put it in the microwave for 6 seconds. And
by the way, Krispy Kreme hot is the way to go. I don't care. Don't at me.
No. Banbury Cross hot. I go to Banbury Cross and I'll say, give me whatever's hot. Give me whatever's coming off of there. But yeah. I mean, if Krispy Kreme is, it's kind of the Subway of donut shops, right?
They're not a sponsor of the show, so
not
go
yet.
ahead.
Hey,
They're
bring
fine.
it. Let's
They're
go. We hope
There's
you're
better local places though. Wink, wink.
Listen, whatever the level is, you just have to know the person that you're across from that you're trying to figure out, right? That person you have to meet the expectations of. So if they're unreasonable, good luck. If they are chilled out expectations, surprise them. You know what I mean? You'll never get negative points for being too thoughtful, right? So there you go. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. We got lots to get through. How about last night, the Utah Jazz sending this Clippers team on a back-to-back, on the second night of a back-to-back, sending the other LA team into overtime, and it taking what was the combined points between Harden and what did they have, 73? Two dudes with 73 points, and they end up losing in overtime. It's the best thing that could have happened to this Utah Jazz team.
It was a close call last night. The Jazz almost won.
I know. I was a little bit nervous, but
Back-to-back wins, that would have been a disaster.
this is what I want. Amazing effort. Awesome games. Coming down to the wire, get me to overtime, and then fall late. There you go. That's what we wanted.
James Harden 32, Norman Powell 41.
Norman Powell had the 41, and that was the part where you're like 73 points between the two of them. Holy cow.
So 22-13 fourth quarter allowed the Clippers to tie it.
Yeah, listen, we thought that was going to happen against the Lakers the night before. It didn't happen.
Right.
So last night the meltdown was real, and then you got yourself that. So let's start off. Let's talk some Jazz because they're now getting into we're getting to the All-Star break now, right? They're officially, as what did Thurl call it yesterday?
The Rising Stars game is tonight.
Sipping and sunning.
Yep.
Sipping and sunning wherever they're at. But wasn't there always like a rumor?
They're in San Francisco.
Wasn't there always a rumor that like, hey, these guys are like, they kind of go off into far-flung places, right? If you're not on the All-Star team, you're like, or in the Rising Stars
everyone
challenge,
gets
stuff
out
like
on
that.
vacation for sure.
Get me to Mexico. Get me to Rudy was like in Saint-Tropez. Or whatever.
Yeah, he always goes to Cabo.
Goes crazy, man. Let's go. G2G Bars brings you the program. Thanks for being with us, and we appreciate their support. G2G Bars are phenomenal, and you can give it as a Valentine's gift. No, they don't do that. They'll take it a weird way, all right? But the protein bar is phenomenal from G2G Bars. Let's kick the program off here. Let's do it officially with the cut. Let's jump right in.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And Trajan Wealth brings you this portion of the cut. It's TRAJAN Wealth.com. Trajan Wealth for all of your local trusted financial needs in retirement. All right, so that's where we're going to start things off here. Your thoughts as this Utah Jazz team goes into the All-Star break, and it's very similar to like, going into the break with hockey where, what are they, 50? The Jazz have played 54 games of an 82-game season, so you're looking at the rest of the third of the season. It's not the halfway point. They've surpassed that.
28 games left.
But the Jazz right now have the third worst record in the NBA, right?
Correct.
13 and 41. The Pelicans are 13 and 42.
Half game ahead.
And that's a half game
Gotta change
behind or ahead. I don't know what we're talking about here.
Technically behind.
What are we talking about here? The Jazz
inverse standings.
Third worst gives the Jazz a 14% chance in the lottery. And look, I'm all about it. You know why? Because and this was something that's interesting because everybody's freaking out about. Oh, I brought up that I sent you guys that video. Do we have that audio of that dude? What he was talking about the third ranked guy in NCAA, like in the draft boards right now. I'm going to play that because you got to get to know everybody. If you're going to get your sights set only on Cooper Flagg, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, and there's some other good players in this draft.
There are, and I know that it's not. But let me tell you, it's not. The top 5 guys in this draft are better than last year's top 5 guys. And last year's draft was considered
the
what?
The 5th pick in this year's draft would have been the first pick last year.
Yes. And so
you watch VJ Edgecombe of Baylor.
Yes.
That's a dude.
And you know what? Because what did he have in pro? He had like 32 or whatever
he was
it was.
Awesome.
It was phenomenal to watch. Yeah. And so that to me, like those are the kind of things that you need to get to know. We do ourselves a disservice by just being like, yeah, Cooper Flagg or bust, and that's it. And then it's disappointment. You're going to get disappointed. The best shot you can have is 14% chance, JJ. That's not good. So don't marry yourself.
You can't control this by losing.
No. So
you give yourself better odds, but you don't control it by losing.
Right. So last night you get yourself the Jazz going into the All-Star break. Overtime loss, 120-116 at the hands of the Clippers. And the Jazz dominated really the first 2.5 quarters, right? I mean, we were talking about they were shooting almost, 63% from the floor. They were shooting almost 60% from 3, and they led by as much as 20 in that first half. Now, James Harden and Norman Powell, put together a massive effort, but I just think that this is one of those things that the game last night was just as important for the development of this team as the Lakers' blowout win was the night before. Right?
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
The Jazz are playing a team that's competing for playoff spot. The Clippers are 6th in the West right now. They're fighting to avoid the play-in tournament. Every game matters for them, and they came in here into Salt Lake, and this Utah Jazz team, without Walker Kessler, without Colin Sexton, gave them everything they wanted and more. And if you're a Jazz fan, you're thrilled that they lost, and the team played really, really well. And this is where we're at right now because they're designed to lose. What you want to see are these players getting better. And we talked to Thurl about this yesterday. You're seeing internal development from these players, and that's what you want to see. You want to see these players developing winning habits and learning how to win learning how to play at a high level. And you're seeing that right now with some of these players. Keontae George, 13 points off the bench last night. But how about Kyle Filipowski getting the start and getting a 20-10 game in the NBA? Like, that guy can play. And you're learning that, yeah, he could, when he's given the minutes and given the opportunity, 37 points last night, he can play. If you can get 20-10 against the Clippers, you're a good player. Lauri Markkanen was good, and John Collins also. But you're continuing to see Isaiah Collier each and every night. This is becoming consistent with Isaiah Collier, putting up great numbers consistently. Since he became a starter, he's taken off. 32 minutes last night, 16 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 4 steals. Yes, the 7 turnovers. I'm fine with that. I want him to go out there and learn how to play at this level and take some risks and make some mistakes. But if you're still getting 16 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 4 steals, you're playing well on both sides of the court. You got a point guard who's a dude. He plays both ways. He plays both sides of the court. He plays defense. 4 steals is outstanding. You can live with the 7 turnovers as a rookie because he's learning how to get better. And there's many nights when he hasn't had that kind of assist-to-turnover ratio. He's been better than that. So what you're seeing from this Utah Jazz team is guys getting better and making improvements. I talked about it the other night when they played like garbage in L.A. That was embarrassing. That's just terrible. They come back. How about a bounce back from some of those young players, learning from their mistakes, digging into the film, watching some of the things they did wrong, and making the correction the next time you play the same team, a team that's going to contend. The Lakers are built to contend. Luka and LeBron healthy right now. I think they're missing a defensive impact center. They tried to make that trade work with the Hornets, and it didn't. So they have a hole, they have a weakness. But you're gonna bet against Luka and LeBron in a 7-game series? I don't know.
No, it's pretty tough.
So that's a good team they beat, right? With a bunch of rookies playing. So you're seeing that development and these guys getting better, especially these younger players. Rookies were outstanding last night. And we understand the assignment here. I keep talking about this, but we understand the assignment. This Jazz team does not want to win games, but you want winning plays. You want winning numbers. You want guys playing to win. And that's what you're seeing from these young guys. They're giving it their best, and they're getting better.
So last night you definitely had, you had a fall off in the second half, and how much of that is the inexperience versus the part of the knowing the assignment part? You can't convince me that these players are like, hey, take it easy, right? Like that's
Look
just
at
not
the
a
Clippers
thing.
starting 5. James Harden, future Hall of Famer, NBA vet.
But by the way, remember we were talking about
Ivica Zubac.
Remember when Zubac, we were talking about this with Thurl, and he's like, yeah, he kind of has the Jazz number.
He's one of the best centers in the league.
But you know what? Not a great night from him last night.
10
Not a
points,
great night.
8 rebounds. Meh.
So Harden goes
Kyle Filipowski outplayed him.
Right. That's what I was going to say, is that's the part where I go, and I'm not expecting Kyle Filipowski to outplay, big men in the league under the hoop, right? That's not where you're asking of this guy. But Flip had a good night, man. Like that's the kind of thing. And he didn't have a good night, by the way, against the Lakers. Flip didn't have a phenomenal night. And you're watching the reality set in that there are guys like Isaiah Collier. We keep talking about it, but he keeps just having these like 16-5, 17-9 type games, right? He just keeps doing it. He keeps developing. Flip had 20 points last night, 20-10. That's a Walker Kessler type night, right? Well, on a night where you don't have Walker Kessler. So your best center doesn't play, and you still go to overtime with the Clippers. So I take out of that and I go, look, Flip had 20 points, and so did Lauri Markkanen. Like, to me, when you drafted that guy at the front end of the second round, if you were to say, yeah, he'll probably go 20-10 against the Clippers in an overtime game going to the All-Star break, you'd go, that's lucky. But the reality is that Flip he's had as much a development situation, I think, as even Isaiah Collier has had. He doesn't get as many starts, obviously, because of Walker. But man, I love what that guy's developing into. I think that Coach Hardy is licking his chops about the idea of these guys being able to, because they're buying in before winning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you get guys to buy in before winning, then that's the end of it. Like,
and you don't have sour attitudes. You don't have guys hanging their heads and all that kind of stuff. They're playing hard.
How long did Keontae George hang his head when he was taking off that starting role? And he still continues to come off the bench.
I didn't see it.
There was like a moment where you felt it maybe for a game or two where you're like, ooh. And Thurl, I think, brought it up too. He's like, yeah, you could tell it affected him for a minute. But they're asking him to grow up.
His numbers are better.
And he's playing better ball, right? Like, he's actually shooting a little bit better.
Yep.
They want him to grow up in a lot of different ways. It's not just on the basketball court. Because Keontae George could be that one guard for the Jazz going into the future, right? So imagine a day where Walker Kessler's in that starting five. If Colin Sexton is obviously, when his health gets back, that game probably goes a very different way last night. I bet they win that game similar fashion to
if
they
the
did.
Jazz were loading up their lineup with their best players and they were all healthy, then absolutely probably win that game.
On a night you don't have JC, on a night where you don't have where you don't have Colin Sexton or Walker Kessler, you might just named off three of your best players.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a lot of production. So it's a good night for the Jazz. If you're a Jazz fan, last night is exactly what you want right now. You got really good results out of some young players, and you fought one of the playoff contenders in the West down to the final buzzer, and you came away with an L, which improves your draft stock.
Right.
So that's where the Jazz are at right now. So everything, as far as I'm concerned, is going right on schedule with this team, with the development of these young players and their pursuit of that best odds for the lottery pick, because they have to add. They got to find a star, and the only way to do that is the way they're doing it right now. I get what they're doing, and it's painful and it takes a while. But you're seeing some development and some excitement about what's going on with this team and this group.
Do you remember at the beginning of the year, and even maybe a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, when – I mean, you get this too because people will come up and they'll ask you your opinion of it, but what do you really think about the Jazz?
Yeah.
And I think I lied to people a couple months ago. I think I was trying to be very bright, or I think I was trying to be very positive about it. Positive attitude, Mr. Brightside. That's what I was trying to be. And the things that I said to them 2 months ago about like, oh, development of these young guys, we got a young coach, he's really getting a lot out of these guys. I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I do now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Don't you over the last month feel a little bit better?
Oh, there was periods of time watching this team this season that I'm not interested in this.
It didn't feel like that Coach Hardy was convincing them of what was going on. I'm not talking about the
Keontae for a long period of time this year was struggling. Last year, Walker Kessler struggled as a sophomore. He bounced back nicely this year.
What a weird balance to try to get these guys to develop at the same time that they're also losing.
They're barely 20 years old, all these guys, right? It just takes time.
Right, and barely 20 means also, guess what? You have a bunch of guys who are barely 20, and they're going to develop.
You have guys playing 35 minutes a game that should only be playing 15 in this league, if we were being quite honest.
Or be two-way guys in some cases.
If you played for a contender, these guys would not be starting and playing as much as they are. So there's a trade-off there. But it's going to pay off in the long run for them.
Yeah, part of the deal is that I'm going into the break. Look, it's a life thing, JJ. I'm trying to be more positive about stuff.
Hey, you want to be positive? I can take a look at the mock draft right now.
Mock draft. Two guys from Rutgers.
That's
Where are
right.
they at? Where are those guys at?
2 and 3.
Are you kidding?
And, of course, who's third right now as far as the standings go? The Jazz would end up with Ace Bailey, the shooting guard small forward from Rutgers.
I was watching this.
Dylan Harper's the better prospect.
I was watching this. I was watching this breakdown on this online on this Braden Smith cat, who's the point guard for Purdue.
Yeah,
I sent it to you because I thought it was interesting. And this is a second round prospect, by the way. But and Alex, our producer, will play it. It's just it's what this breakdown of Braden Smith, who's the Purdue point guard, what one of his former coaches or one of the coaches. Who coached against him while they were at Michigan, said about what this Braden Smith guy, who's like the 5th best point guard in the draft or whatever it is, or 6th best. Here's what he said about him.
Braden Smith is the best point guard I've ever coached against, not named Steph Curry. And there's some other stuff in there, and I said, what? Then he texted me back this morning. He said, I gave more thought to it. And this is what he sent. John Wall, Jalen Brunson, Tremont Waters, Devon Dotson, Joel Berry, Brandon Knight, Eric Bledsoe, Javon Carter, Deuce McBride, Trae Young, Steph Curry, Frank Mason, Devontae Graham, Monte Morris, Tyrese Halliburton, Jeff Teague. I've coached against all of them. Steph is the only one who at the time in college has been better than Braden Smith. That is insane. Insane praise. Braden Smith right now is 3rd for player of the year behind obviously Broom and Flag. He's 3rd. He is firmly 3rd. He's ridiculous. but that's just, even if you want to disagree with Boynton on that, he's the one who's actually had to scheme and coach against all of those point guards. And he's telling me that at college right now, with what he's doing, his value, his playmaking ability, he's the second best one to Steph Curry in college. Crazy.
6'1". How tall Steph Curry?
Maybe. Steph's 6'4". Steph's not as small as people
Right.
think. He just looks like a kid when he was younger, but he's 6'4".
He still looks like that same kid. Look, by the way, I'm not telling the Jazz front office they need to draft a 6'1" guy out of Purdue.
Well,
but
they've got second-round picks.
This is what I'm saying.
There's talent out there.
I think that this draft is pretty dang deep. And that's just one dude who's projected to be in the mid-30s to late 40s.
ESPN doesn't even have them in their 2-round mock draft.
That's crazy, right?
He's not even picked by ESPN to be drafted. And that kind of praise is coming out of that guy.
Yeah, but right now that
coach that coaches
right now
against
on the
him, who's seen all
right
those
now
guys?
on the Naismith odds, he's third best odds behind.
Okay.
Who did he say? Who did he mention? Obviously,
Broom
Cooper
of
Flagg.
Auburn, and then Cooper Flagg of Duke.
Crazy.
Yeah, there's talent out there, and there's going to be. This is why you need to be in the draft. If you're not good and you're far away from contending, you need to get as many shots of this as you can, and that includes second-round picks. We've had plenty of examples of second-round picks. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, taken late lottery, not a number 1 overall pick, might be the MVP this year. Who's the MVP right now? A second-round pick.
Yep.
Giannis is probably third in the MVP right now. Middle of the first round. Okay.
Well, what was Jokic?
Second round.
Right. He was during the Taco Bell commercial, right? That was the whole.
So there's players to be found, and there's ways to get the best players in the draft.
It's hard because I think that
you've got to outwork all the other teams when it comes to scouting.
I just think, I think David Locke would say, those are kind of anecdotal, right? Because there's some talent you can't really. But I mean, Igor Demin is 8th on the mock draft boards right now, 7th and 8th. You know that you see him on those, and you don't look at him and go, he's dominating every game that he's in.
No, he's not. He's a freshman. He's young. He's learning.
He's a potential in the future guy.
Right.
And that's so hard to project into the NBA.
And I also mentioned this, and I remind people of this, like how often has a number 1 overall pick led his original franchise to an NBA championship?
Yeah.
It's not many.
Here we go.
You don't have to have the number 1 overall pick to find that guy.
We'll come right back. We got more to jump into here. Stay right here with us on a Valentine's Day edition of the program. It's 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Peter, etc. That's a weird name.
I was like, I can never remember, like, sometimes, you hear, like, old Genesis or you hear old Police.
Anything
like,
from the 80s, late 70s, early 80s.
Right, and then you go, oh, yeah, Sting. And they're like, no, this is Police, man. And you're like, well, I mean, come on. Oh, Phil Collins? No, dude. This is Genesis. Oh, okay.
Wow.
Well.
Okay, can you name another member of the band?
That's what I'm saying. It's
no.
Like,
okay, then.
So then I was like, hey,
Phil Collins.
Chicago. Our producer Alex is like, no, some guy named Peter, etc. No, Peter Cetera. Pete Cetera. Gen Z, come on.
We didn't even hear the chorus.
Yeah, pump that up. Let's go. Oh,
there we go.
Who will fight?
It's perfect for Valentine's Day. Oh.
I'll be the hero dreaming of. Come on. This is when, like, you and your buddy would harmonize together,
no,
Alex.
This is the song they'd play at the. This is a slow dance at a church dance.
What ward are you in?
Not too close there, buddy.
Do you like stuff? Do you like things? Cool. What ward are you in? All right. Well, it's good to meet you. Hopefully your back where my hand was is now only just a little bit wet with how
gross.
It's just like sweaty hand. Just give the hot hand on the back.
Did you just take a trip back in time about 30 years?
Oh, listen. I'm telling you.
Teenage life was
being
tough,
forced to go to that stuff as a kid.
Oh, boy.
The exact opposite of the Valentine's feelings that you should be having today. All right, listen. I was looking this up, and I was like, we are so stupid. Hey, guys, what are the 50 best Valentine's gifts of 2025? You want to know what number 1 was on this list? This is how sad we've become as a people. A ravioli-shaped spoon rest. Your wife will love it. Durable, safe to clean. I don't even know what that is. What are we talking about?
Can you eat the ravioli?
No, it's a spoon.
Well, then what's the point?
Spoon rest.
I need a spoon rest. I need to eat the ravioli.
I know, shaped like ravioli. Cute.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah. It's the usual. It's like the journals.
Does your significant other want gifts on Valentine's?
Oh boy.
Or
here's
like the biggest thing is
Hold on.
I want them to do the dishes and all that stuff.
Yeah, listen. You don't
What's
want
the
this.
perfect gift for Valentine's Day in 2025?
Not this.
Not that list.
And I'll tell you what this one is. This is the worst one. A couple's activity book.
Oh, gross.
And it says you can even mark down. It's like
What does that even mean?
Well, it gives you suggestions on activities, and it has spaces for what kind of a time you had that you write down.
Oh boy.
Weather was good. Good time. Alex farted. So romantic. Like
Oh,
the
man.
things you're gonna write down in an activity journal.
What
Come
are you,
on.
Family Guy? What are you doing that on the date? Get out of here with that.
Unisex.
You're better than that, Alex.
Unisex perfume. What are we doing?
What?
Yeah. Oh, I don't like the name of this perfume. Father figure? No, thanks. I'm out.
Ooh.
Come on. Hey, by the way, speaking of a love, hey, let's look up some George Michael father figure for the next segment. That'll really bring the love. Come on.
I don't think we
Hey,
do that.
this is what I already know what JJ got his wife. Heart-shaped terrarium. Grow your own succulents in a heart-shaped glass terrarium that'll last for decades.
Tempting.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Valentine's Day, we put together our own list of sports Valentines. You ready for this? People that at the end of the year we predict you're going to be writing a love letter
Who
to.
are you going to fall in love with in Utah sports in 2025?
Somebody you can send a terrarium to. All right? So let's start off first. I'm going to say coming up here soon, Aggie fans are going to be sending a love letter to Jared Calhoun. Utah State fans, I don't know how you guys keep doing it. And maybe we are just assume like, hey, if you inherit the job at Utah State, you're probably just going to be successful because that's what it looks like.
That's what it feels like now.
But I think that Jared Calhoun picked up some pieces and did something even more incredible than I think maybe even Danny Sprinkle did last year. Is that wrong? Is that wrong to say? These Aggies are 22-3.
They're better this year than they were last year, which is crazy.
Bonkers, right? And they won
He
their
kept
first.
some pieces in place, and he
Right.
added some that have been phenomenal.
So get that love letter ready.
I think there could be a Sweet 16 team with the right bracket.
Somebody that I'm actually the most excited for BYU fans to have this guy coming back to their team is Jack Kelly.
He's the one BYU guy that think the fans are going to fall in love with the most.
I think that you should just be extremely grateful that he came back. Right? The whole linebacking core really that decided think of like your Harrison Taggarts and your
Hanson Scotty talked about it when they redid their 16-16.
Where was Jack?
I didn't see. It's
He
two.
was two?
Two, yeah.
I don't hate that at all.
Hans hit a nail on the head when he said the BYU linebacker group was the biggest story of 2024 in the state because the expectations weren't great, especially when they had injuries.
Where did Glasgow end up?
Number 1, wasn't he?
So you have Kelly and Glasgow at 2 and 1, and you know what?
And Harrison Taggart was in that mix too.
Dead right.
You came up in the season banged up. You had a lot of question marks. You had a transfer coming from Weber State and Jack Kelly. There was a lot of pressure put on Jack Kelly, and not only did he match that pressure, he exceeded it.
How tall is Isaiah Glasgow? Like 6'1" and
He
so
was
big.
a receiver in high school.
He is so big.
He's a great athlete.
So Jack Kelly, and I'll put a comma, Isaiah Glasgow, because Glasgow had at the very end of the year started getting some of that love. The thing about Jack Kelly was, everybody just assumed it was all just going to be. This is it. He's only going to go 1 year. It's just one ride and done, right? For Utah, Spencer Fano, after all that's said and done, he actually could definitely make the argument that he could have been the number one guy.
He's the number one NFL prospect in the state that's coming back.
Hands down. I'm really hoping that this one comes true. This is a crush that you have.
I think this is going to be a hit.
And you don't know if it's going to pan out.
I think this is going to hit.
Devin Dampier for the University of Utah. I really do. I think that you could be writing, like, think about if this guy delivers after the last 2 years of nightmare quarterback situations that you've been put through. That's what makes it an even more special thing, right? If he's able to turn it around, your love for Devin Dampier will be unmatched because he pulled you out of this crazy time that you had to go through over the last 2 years of high hopes and high promise. I mean, there's a reason. I think Devin Dampier is probably one of the, and people put it on Kyle Whittingham. Oh, Kyle Whittingham, he can't go out like this, and he's going to, get his guys going, and I agree. But if the predictor that ESPN had of Utah going to the college football playoff, it's not an insane thing to consider because of how insane the Big 12 was this year. It's not as crazy as you think. And because of what Utah is and what they do and this was an outlier last year.
How many close games did they have last year that they lost?
And you
flip those to wins, you have a much different looking season.
And it was one of the worst offenses we've seen out of Utah ever.
7 rushing touchdowns from a Utah team total.
And you change out your staff midseason, it's never going to be good.
Devin Dampier had 19 rushing touchdowns by himself at New Mexico last year on the 4th-ranked offense in the country.
Bronco Mendenhall, Utah State fans, I think you're going to love what you get. And I think
if he does at Utah State what he did at BYU,
even if he just does the type of turnaround that he had at New Mexico in 1 year, you're going to have even more success at Utah State.
Right.
That's a place
you
that
have better players.
Better players, more buy-in, an athletic department that believes in your football team way more than the athletic department down in New Mexico believes in the Lobos.
Better community support.
Yeah. You got a couple on there. What do you have?
Well, I threw on Isaiah Collier.
Oh, perfect.
I think that fans are starting to realize they got a dog at point guard, and this guy's going to be really good. He could be. I don't think he's as explosive as Russell Westbrook, but he plays really hard downhill and gets to the hoop, and his playmaking ability has been a very big surprise. His ability to pass the ball and set guys up has been phenomenal, and I think they found a guy late in the first round, and I think Jazz fans are going to continue to fall in love with him. Another one I got is whoever the Jazz draft in June.
No, I don't know about that.
This is a big draft. There's a flip side to this we'll get to in a moment, but whoever the Jazz draft in June, if the Jazz get the number 1 overall pick in the draft and they draft Cooper Flagg, the Jazz are back in business, baby.
Was it Dan Gilbert's kid who would always do the draft for the Cavaliers?
Yes, rest in peace.
That's the thing is
I did rest in peace before you could ask if he's still with us.
I know, but
I wasn't going to let you kill Dan Gilbert's son.
No, I was just saying, listen, that's the type of vibe we need, though.
Yeah.
We need basically a mascot, somebody who's going to be there.
Need some lottery luck, man.
Does Danny Ainge...
franchise is due.
Does Danny Ainge have a Lucky Charm granddaughter that could roll up there? Some cute 9-year-old who will just melt the hearts of the ping pong balls can't help but just gravitate. You know what I mean?
The Jazz have been a franchise for 51 years, and they've never had a number 1 overall pick.
All right.
I don't have to remind fans that they traded the number 1 pick in the 1979 draft who became Magic Johnson.
Yeah. And then you have some hockey in there as well.
Dylan Gunther and Logan Cooley.
Probably could already send it.
I think it's ready to go. Yeah, put a stamp on that letter. I think they found 2 superstar young players who are going to get better and better for the next decade. They'll be the face of this franchise.
Okay.
It's exciting.
We'll take a break. We'll come back a little bit later. We're going to bring up our potential biggest heartbreakers.
Ooh.
Yeah, because Valentine's Day is not complete. It's not just people who have the long-term relationships going on. It's people who have they get their heart broken by not getting that Valentine from somebody. We've got a list of those guys.
Who's going to let you down at 25?
Well, so who's going to let you down? Oh, what a fun list. Hey, how's that show in the afternoon? Well, they did a list of they made me feel real good. A list of people who are going to let me down.
That includes JJ and Alex from 3 to 7 on 97.5 DKSL Sports.
Who's going to let you down more? Come on. All right, we'll take that break. We've got a Would You Rather next. 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone. Would you rather? Brought to you this hour by Minky Couture. Hey, I bet you could still sneak over and grab one. Get a Minky Couture blanket on your way home.
There's time.
You've got time, and it's 50% off right now. Take advantage. Let's go.
If you need a late save, go do it.
What better way to say I love you than the cozy, classy Minky Couture blanket? 50% off using the promo code ZONE50 in stores and online. MinkyCouture.com. Minky Couture has you covered. There you go. Thank JJ later. All right. Let me see here. Would you rather? This is a great question because I read this whole article for probably the 5th or 6th year in a row. They're like, the NBA All-Star Weekend is broken.
Yep.
But it can be fixed with a new format. And you're like, nobody has the idea what that format could be. No one has actual answers. Remember when you asked Thurl about it yesterday? He goes, I have no freaking clue. Right? He was like, I have no idea. Adam Silver's hustling. Great.
I think it's up to the players on the court. It's up to the All-Stars to come up with something that works.
How do you convince them that this is something important?
That's their choice.
It's a hard deal. So knowing that the NBA All-Star Weekend is this weekend and it's a hard sell for people to get involved with, right? Would you rather watch the Four Nations face-off between Team USA and Team Canada that's firing off tomorrow night at 6 p.m.? Or watch the All-Star festivities?
Four Nations.
Team USA.
Hockey's captured my interest.
So Team USA, all the people we've asked this week about it said Team USA top to bottom has the best roster. And they beat Finland last night 6-1 in the Four Nations face-off. Now, I want you to transport yourself to tomorrow when the face-off between Canada and the U.S. means something more now. When was the last time the U.S. won a major tournament? 96?
I couldn't tell you.
I think it was
1980.
I think it was 96.
I'm not educated well enough to answer that question.
So they beat Canada in 96.
Okay.
And then they
was it
and it was like
Worlds
98.
or
98 was after that because they went to that 2-year. They went to where that was the switchover because then Nagano, I think it was 98. I don't know what happened in 98. But you remember when they came to Salt Lake, Canada won here, right? And they beat Team USA in the final, right, for the gold medal. And since then, Canada's been on a tear.
You're right. 1996 World Cup of Hockey defeated Canada. Yep.
But
how about that?
But look at this. Here's what the reality is. Canada's scared right now because Team USA has a really, really good roster, probably the best it's ever had assembled, like in terms of and is competitive against Canada.
Yeah.
And Canada, the whole political thing that's going on right now between Team USA and between Canada and the US.
The anthem's going to get booed.
It is awkward.
Yeah.
And so I'm telling you, I am all there for the drama tomorrow night. Okay? I'm watching Team USA. I don't care about whether or not. Is Mac McClung, did they sign him to a deal? Did somebody sign him to a deal?
See,
is he in the dunk contest? But again, when you're resting on hopefully that you got a two-way contract for a guy who's not good enough to actually play in the league, but he's a great dunker. So there were
4 competitors.
What do we have?
McClung is back, technically with the Orlando Magic.
Wow. There you go.
How they pulled that
off. I didn't even know that.
Stephon Castle, the rookie for the Spurs. Andre Jackson Jr.
Okay.
Of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Have you seen how high that dude can get,
he's a good dunker.
Crazy.
And Modest Bazelis, the rookie for the Bulls.
Okay. You got to bring in all the young guys because none of the old guys will do it. And McClung is a 2-timer now?
Yeah.
All right.
Looking for a 3-peat.
Okay. I'm there. I'm watching Four Nations. That's what I'm doing. All right. We'll take the break here. More to go around the corner. 4 o'clock hour is next. Stay here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.